I sat in the plaintiff's seat, looking at the pitiful woman in the defendant's seat. Her name is Lin Wani, the white moonlight my husband Jiyu Linyuan has loved for 10 years. She is also the defendant in this lawsuit. Charges, defamation, personal injury, and medical malpractice resulting in my father's death. A suppressed stir rippled through the public gallery. Camera flashes occasionally lit up, only to be sternly halted by the bailiffs. Everyone knew who the plaintiff in this lawsuit was: Shen Qingxi, the wife of Jiyu Linyuan, the president of the Jiyu Group, and who the defendant was: Lin Wani, the unattainable yet rediscovered white moonlight in Jiyu Linyuan's heart. This in itself is fantastical and attention-grabbing enough. It's enough to nail me to the pillar of shame within the circle as lacking a sense of the bigger picture and jealous and malicious. Order. The judge rapped the gavel, his sharp gaze sweeping across the courtroom. Plaintiff, please continue to state your claims and the factual basis for them. My lawyer, a notoriously tough and ruthless litigation ace, adjusted his glasses and was about to speak. Bang! The heavy doors of the courtroom were violently flung open. A tall, familiar figure, yet one filled with unprecedented rage and disarray, stormed in. Jiyu Linyuan. He has arrived, even faster than I anticipated. He is wearing an expensive custom-made suit. But now it is crumpled beyond recognition. His tie is askew, and his hair is tousled by the wind. Those eyes, always filled with calm and control, were now bloodshot, fixed on me as if they could burn right through me. Behind him followed several assistants and security guards, panting heavily, trying to stop him, but he waved them off with a single motion. Shen Qingxi, his voice was hoarse, carrying a thunderous fury that echoed through the solemn and dignified courtroom. You're insane. The judge's face turned ashen. Who is it? How dare you disrupt court order? Bailiffs. 2 bailiffs immediately stepped forward. Jiyu Linyuan didn't even glance at them. In his world, it seemed only I remained, along with the target he intended to tear apart. He strode forward, ignoring the bailiff's obstruction and the judge's reprimand, heading straight to the plaintiff's seat. An immense sense of pressure instantly enveloped me, carrying the familiar cold, woody scent of him, and a faint, elusive trace of Lin Wani's sweet perfume. Get down from there. He grabbed my wrist, his grip so strong it felt as if he were about to crush my bones. Immediately, right now, drop the lawsuit. Do you hear me? A sharp pain shot through my wrist. I could even feel my slender bones groaning under the strain in his palm. But I didn't move. I just looked up at him calmly. This face, I have loved for 5 years, looked up to for 5 years, and felt humble towards for 5 years. Once, a single frown from him could make my heart flutter with anxiety. A word of affirmation from him could make me elated for half a day. But now, watching him lose control and rage because of another woman, my heart feels as if it's been soaked in ice shards, cold and hard, unable to stir even a ripple. Mr. Jiyu. My voice was unexpectedly calm, even carrying a hint of the courtroom's characteristic chill. This is a court of law. Please show some self-respect. Let go of me. Self-respect. Jiyu Linyuan seemed to have heard the biggest joke of all time. He took a step closer, his scorching breath hitting my face, filled with gritted hatred. Shen Qingxi, you took the woman I loved to court and ruined her reputation, and you're talking to me about self-respect. Do you even know that Wani is in poor health? She can't handle this kind of stress at all. You're pushing her to her death. If anything happens to her, I'll make sure everyone in the Shen family pays with their lives. It's like this again. It's always like this. Whenever it involves Lin Wani, all his rationality, demeanor, and even the last shred of feigned respect for me, his wife, can instantly turn to dust. Is that so? I tugged at the corner of my mouth, revealing a smile devoid of any warmth. Well then, with my father's life and the suffering I've endured over the past 5 years, I'm afraid Lin Wani's life alone isn't enough to make up for it. You. Jiyu Linyuan's eyes widened with fury. His other hand suddenly raised. A collective gasp echoed through the courtroom. The flashbulbs once again went into an uncontrollable frenzy. The president of the Jiyu Group attempting to strike his wife in court was explosive news. That hand, carrying a gust of wind, ultimately did not come down. Frozen in midair, my lawyer reacted with lightning speed, stepping in front of me, his tone icy and firm. Mr. Jiyu, please watch your behavior. If you continue to threaten or attack my client, We will immediately apply for a restraining order and add further claims to the lawsuit. The bailiffs quickly closed in, forcibly separating Jiyu Linyuan. Jiyu Linyuan's chest heaved violently, his bloodshot eyes fixed on me like a ferocious beast utterly enraged yet temporarily caged. He probably never imagined that I, his always gentle and even somewhat timid wife in front of him, would one day stand so firmly against him, using the law as a weapon. Directly targeting the person he holds dear in his heart, Shen Qingzi, he spat out each word as if squeezing them through gritted teeth, carrying a bloody tone. "You will regret this, I guarantee it." The judge slammed the gavel heavily. "Order, counsel for the defense. Do you need to raise an objection or request action regarding the defendant Jiyu Linyuan's disruption of court order?" Lin Wanni's lawyer, a slick-looking middle-aged man, immediately stood up, his face wearing an expression of both difficulty and fear. "Your Honor, my client, Miss Lin Wanni, is currently in an extremely unstable emotional state and is receiving treatment. Mr. Jiyu was also acting out of extreme concern for Miss Lin's physical condition, and in a moment of urgency, I implore the court to consider that Mr. Jiyu was simply worried and acted rashly, and not to pursue the matter. We are willing to apologize to the court and the plaintiff on behalf of Mr. Jiyu." He turned to me and gave a slight bow. "Mrs. Jiyu, I'm very sorry, but Mr. Jiyu, I am not Mrs. Jiyu," I interrupted him, my voice clear and carrying throughout the courtroom, "at least, not in the legal sense, and soon not at all. Please call me MS. Shen, or the plaintiff." Lin Wanni's lawyer stiffened. The murmurs in the public gallery grew louder. Jiyu Linyuan's gaze instantly turned as sinister as a poisoned ice pick. The judge frowned, clearly extremely displeased with this farce. This court issues another warning: no one, regardless of status or position, is to disrupt the trial again. If there is a next time, they will be expelled without exception. Bailiffs, escort Mr. Jiyu to the public gallery. If there is any further disturbance, remove him from the courtroom immediately. Now. Counsel for the plaintiff, proceed. Jiyu Linyuan was escorted by the bailiffs to the first row of the public gallery. His gaze, like two red-hot knives, was fixed on my back. I straightened my spine and did not turn around. My lawyer stood firm again, his voice steady and forceful. "Your Honor, members of the jury, our lawsuit against the defendant, MS. Lin Wanni, is primarily based on the following three facts and pieces of evidence. First, the crime of defamation. Over the past 2 years, MS. Lin Wanni has continuously spread false statements about me on her personal social media platforms, at private gatherings, and within specific circles, maliciously slandering my character and reputation. Specific instances include, but are not limited to, falsely accusing me of interfering in her relationship with Mr. Jiyu Linyuan, falsely accusing me of using improper means to force Mr. Jiyu Linyuan to marry me, falsely accusing me of marital infidelity, falsely accusing me of abusing the Jiyu family's servants, and even falsely accusing me of intentionally causing her miscarriage out of jealousy. Relevant screenshots from the internet, recordings from the gathering scene, and written testimonies from 3 key witnesses have been submitted to the court as evidence numbers 1 through 15. The public gallery erupted in an uproar. The love triangle involving Jiyu Linyuan, Lin Wanni, and me, the cuckoo in the nest Mrs. Jiyu, has always been a juicy piece of gossip in our social circle. Rumors were flying everywhere, but no one expected that Lin Wanni had done so much homework in private, each piece of which was enough to nail me to the pillar of shame. Second, personal injury. On August 15th of last year, during MS. Lin Wanni's voluntary visit to my client's residence at the Cloud Peak Villa, she deliberately provoked my client, during a minor physical altercation between the two parties. She intentionally fell down the stairs, creating the false appearance of a miscarriage. This incident led to severe accusations and months of emotional abuse from Mr. Jiyu Linyuan and the entire Jiyu family, causing significant physical and psychological trauma to my client. Additionally, MS. Lin Wanni exploited this event to maliciously manipulate public opinion, resulting in a sharp decline in my client's social reputation and leading to severe depression. The evidence we have submitted, numbered 16 through 25, includes the complete surveillance footage from inside the villa on that day, clearly showing MS. Lin Wani moving close to the edge of the stairs and intentionally falling backward, a medical diagnosis issued afterward confirming that she was not actually pregnant. We have obtained the original copy of the falsified miscarriage report issued by the doctor bribed by Ms. Lin Wani, as well as my client's subsequent psychological treatment records. A greater commotion. Fake pregnancy, fake miscarriage, oh my god, these tactics, I knew it, Mrs. GU doesn't seem like that kind of person. Sure, keep your voice down, Mr. GU is right here. I could feel the gaze behind me growing even more intense, almost as if it were burning 2 holes through my back. Was it anger, or a hint of disbelief? It doesn't matter anymore. My lawyer paused, his voice growing deeper, carrying a tone of grief and indignation. Third. And this is our most crucial and weighty claim: death caused by medical malpractice. The defendant, Ms. Lin Wani, in order to thoroughly retaliate against our client and solidify her position in Mr. GU Linyuan's heart, maliciously interfered with the normal medical treatment process of our client's father, Mr. Shen Guodong, by leveraging her family's influence in the healthcare system. Last December, Mr. Shen Guodong was admitted to Ranhe Hospital, controlled by the Lin family, due to an acute myocardial infarction. His condition had initially been brought under control. However, Ms. Lin Wani bribed the on-duty doctor and nurses at the time, deliberately delayed the administration of critical medication, and tampered with vital sign monitoring data, causing Mr. Shen Guodong's condition to deteriorate rapidly. Ultimately, he could not be saved and passed away, and the sole reason Ms. Lin Wani did this was simply because Mr. Shen Guodong was our client's last and only blood relative in this world. She intended to use this most cruel method to destroy our client's final emotional pillar. The evidence we have submitted, items 26 through 50, includes secret recordings and written confessions from the bribed medical staff, which have undergone judicial authentication, copies of the original medical records that were tampered with, provided by an internal whistleblower, abnormal time records of medication delivery, and a segment of the ward surveillance footage showing Mr. Shen Guodong, in a state of delirium before his death, repeatedly uttering Lin Wani's name and asking, "Why did you harm me?" Dead silence, an absolute dead silence enveloped the entire courtroom. Even the sound of the judge flipping through the evidence materials seemed particularly jarring. The people in the public gallery even softened their breathing. The previous whispers and curious glances had all turned into shock, horror, and even a hint of fear. To vie for favor and win a man's affection, could one really go to such lengths, scheming relentlessly, stopping at nothing, even taking a life? This goes beyond the typical melodramatic soap opera. It's outright criminal. No, that's not true. She's lying. It's all slander. A piercing scream shattered the dead silence. Lin Wani woke up at some point, or perhaps she had never truly fainted at all. Her face was as pale as paper, her entire body trembling like a leaf in the autumn wind. Tears streamed down her face, and she looked so fragile it seemed she might shatter at any moment. Pointing in my direction, her voice was sharp and desperate. Lin Yuan, you have to believe me, it was Shen Qingzi. She hates me for taking you away. She's the one who wants to harm me. She forged all this evidence. She wants me dead. She wants to completely destroy me, Your Honor. She's making false accusations. Those recordings are synthesized. The videos are edited. The witness must have been bribed by her. She is the most malicious woman. She cried as if her heart were breaking, swaying unsteadily, as though bearing the greatest injustice in the world. This appearance had, countless times in the past, successfully stirred GU Linyuan's protective instincts, making him stand by her side without hesitation and accuse me of being malicious and jealous. Wani. GU Linyuan suddenly stood up, instinctively wanting to rush over again, only to be stopped once more by the bailiff. He looked at Lin Wani, his eyes filled with undisguised heartache and anxiety, but when he looked at me again, there was something extremely complex in his gaze. For the first time, doubt, struggle, and a hint of panic that even he might not have been aware of. He didn't immediately scold me or defend Lin Wani as he usually would. He just stared at me intently, as if seeing me for the first time. My lawyer calmly countered, "Defendant Lin Wani, please watch your words. Your accusation in court that our client fabricated evidence and made false accusations constitutes new slander. We reserve the right to file additional lawsuits, as for your questioning of the authenticity of the evidence. The court will arrange for professional institutions to conduct strict verification. All the evidence we have provided forms a complete chain with clear sources and can withstand any scrutiny. Furthermore, the lawyer shifted the focus, his sharp gaze fixed on Lin Wani. You just said, "She hates me for taking you away." Can this be understood as your own admission that you have been trying to sabotage the marital relationship between our client and Mr. Jiyu Linyuan? This aligns perfectly with our accusation that you carried out a series of harmful actions out of jealousy. Lin Wani choked, her sobbing abruptly stopping, her face drained of color. She probably didn't expect that her desperate, tearful complaint would become a handle for the opposing lawyer to seize. The judge banged the gavel heavily. Defendant Lin Wani, control your emotions. This is a courtroom, not a place for you to perform. If there are any more baseless accusations or disruptive actions during the trial, this court will consider taking compulsory measures. Defense counsel, please fulfill your duty and guide your client. Lin Wani's lawyer broke into a sweat on his forehead and quickly tried to calm her down in a low voice. Lin Wani lay prostrate in the defendant's dock, her shoulders shaking violently as she cried even more piteously. This time, however, her sobs were unmistakably tinged with fear. The trial continued in an eerily oppressive atmosphere. My lawyer presented a clear, logical argument with solid evidence. Each accusation and piece of evidence struck like a cold hammer, hitting Lin Wani and the increasingly pale man in the public gallery. Lin Wani's lawyer, on the other hand, appeared flustered and overwhelmed, struggling to defend her. He could only repeatedly emphasize the questionable nature of the evidence, the possibility that witness testimonies were coerced, and offer the feeble defense that Lin Wani was innocent and kind-hearted and could not possibly have committed such a malicious act. Time passed by little. The air conditioning in the courtroom seemed to be turned up too high, the cold air seeping into the very marrow of the bones. I looked at the woman in the defendant's seat, who was crying so hard she was almost exhausted. I looked at the man in the public gallery, whose eyes grew increasingly hollow. Yet his back remained straight. In my mind, fragments of the past 5 years uncontrollably flashed by. 5 years ago, I met Jiyu Linyuan for the first time. It wasn't some romantic encounter, it was at the high-end club where I worked. He was a top-tier VIP, and I was the head waitress in charge of the private rooms. He was drunk, vomiting uncontrollably, and his companions had long since left. As if guided by fate, I stayed behind, clumsily taking care of him all night, fetching water, wiping his face, cleaning up the mess. When he woke up, his gaze was as sharp as an eagle's, filled with the exhaustion of a hangover and the scrutiny of someone in a position of power, and he stared at me for a long time. Then he said, "What's your name?" "Shen Qingzi." I lowered my head, my heart pounding like a drum. "Shen Qingzi," he murmured softly, without much emotion. "Last night." "Thanks." He left an astonishingly large check and walked away. I thought it was just a trivial encounter. Until a month later, when the HR department of the GU Group called me on my phone, informing me to report to the president's office for the position of personal life assistant to the president. I was stunned. Life assistant, taking care of his daily needs, from eating and drinking to sleeping. A great sense of panic, mixed with a secret, unwarranted thrill, enveloped me. Jiyu Linyuan, the man who stood at the pinnacle, whose name frequently graced the covers of financial magazines and the headlines of gossip tabloids. Why would he help me? It was only later that I discovered the reason, which was laughably cliché, because a certain angle of my profile bore a slight resemblance to Lin Wani, the one he loved but could never have, the white moonlight who went abroad to study. I became Lin Wani's poor substitute. I moved into his luxurious yet cold villa, receiving a handsome salary for a job that required me to be on call 24/7. I took care of his daily needs, memorizing all his exacting preferences and taboos, endure his unpredictable temper, accept those dazed moments when he occasionally gets drunk, looks at my face, and calls out Wani. When did I fall in love with him? Perhaps it was when he had a stomachache late at night, and I clumsily made him a bowl of unappetizing but warm millet porridge. After frowning and finishing it, he casually said, "It's okay." Or perhaps it was when he was framed by a competitor, and I accidentally helped him obtain crucial evidence. For the first time, he looked at me properly and said, You're not too dumb, perhaps, it's just that he's too handsome, and the deep, restrained longing he occasionally shows for Lin Wani makes even me, an onlooker, feel a pang in my heart. Falling in love with a man whose heart belongs to someone else's, in itself, the beginning of a disaster, and I, in my humble way, thought that as long as I tried hard enough, was good enough, resembled her enough, one day, I could occupy a small corner of his heart. I was wrong, way off the mark. The news of Lin Wani's return to the country hit like a bomb, shattering the fragile, artificial peace I had so carefully maintained. She made a grand entrance, with the title of an internationally renowned designer, an elegant and confident smile, and a look in her eyes that said she was determined to win Jiyu Linyuan. She was like a bright moon, instantly illuminating Jiyu Linyuan's world that had been silent for many years, and I am nothing but a bothersome, humble speck of dust under the glow of her light. Jiyu Linyuan began to come home late frequently, carrying the scent of different perfumes. His phone was filled with many encrypted messages. The look in his eyes towards me grows colder and more impatient. He no longer needs me. This poor substitute, the real one, has returned. I tried to hold on, using all my courage and dignity. When he came home late at night again, carrying the scent of Lin Wani's perfume, I blocked the doorway, my voice trembling. Jiyu Linyuan, can we talk? He loosened his tie, his expression filled with undisguised exhaustion and irritation. Talk about what? Shinqingzi, I'm tired. Don't bother me. What about Lin Wani? I blurted out, my voice choked with tears. Doesn't she bother you? His eyes instantly turned cold, as if frosted over. Shinqingzi, watch your tone. Wani's affairs are none of your concern. Identity. I laughed, tears falling. What identity do I have? Jiyu Linyuan, I am your lawful wife. Wife. He seemed to have heard some absurd joke, a cold, mocking smile curling at the corner of his mouth. Shinqingzi, have you forgotten why we got married? Why did we get married? Because I resemble Lin Wani. Because the Jiyu family patriarch was critically ill at the time, they needed a Mrs. Jiyu to bring good fortune, and Lin Wani was far abroad, with no news of her whereabouts. Because I, as the substitute, was obedient enough, cheap enough, and similar enough, in appearance, that marriage, which had no wedding ceremony and only 2 marriage certificates, was an unbridgeable chasm that my 5 years of humble devotion could never fill. So, he said, looking at my desperate expression, his tone showing no sign of softening but instead carrying a cruel clarity, know your place, do what you're supposed to do. As for Wani, now that she's back, you should be even more well-behaved. You may hold the position of Mrs. Jiyu, but don't delude yourself into wanting more that doesn't belong to you, otherwise. He paused, his gaze sharp as a knife. You won't be able to bear the consequences. At that moment, I heard the sound of my own heart shattering, crystal clear. I gave up all hope. I moved out of the master bedroom and into the guest room farthest from him, like a real nanny, only responsible for cleaning and cooking. I told myself, just endure it, when he gets tired of it someday, or when Lin Wani wants to take my place and offers me a sum of money, I'll leave. With the money I've saved and my broken heart, I'll stay far away from them. But the tree may prefer calm, yet the wind will not cease. I retreated, I avoided, but Lin Wani refused to let me go. She began to appear frequently before me, with the demeanor of a victor. She deliberately or inadvertently flaunted Jiyu Linyuan's kindness to her, the exorbitant jewelry gifted to her, the private art exhibition held in her honor, taking her to the Jiyu family's ancestral home to meet the elders. Each appearance felt like a blunt knife, repeatedly cutting into my heart. I endured all of this. I endured the gossip as well, until that day, she appeared before me holding that forged medical report. That day, Jiyu Linyuan was unusually home for dinner. The atmosphere was stiflingly oppressive. Lin Wani suddenly arrived, bringing exquisite desserts, claiming she had specially made them for Linyuan. Jiyu Linyuan's expression visibly softened. Lin Wani greeted me with a smile, but her eyes were like poisoned needles. Qingzi, you don't look too well lately. Are you too tired? You should take good care of yourself. After all, she changed her tone, her smile turning meaningful. A woman isn't truly complete until she has a child of her own, don't you think? My heart sank heavily. Jiyu Linyuan also looked up at me, his brows slightly furrowed. He actually didn't like children, finding them troublesome. But the old master of the Jiyu family had always wanted to hold a great-grandchild, which was one of the reasons he chose me, a controllable woman, to marry, a tool for reproduction. After 5 years of marriage, my stomach had shown no signs of movement, which in itself had drawn criticism from the Jiyu family. Lin Wani slowly took a document from her expensive Hermes bag and pushed it toward me. Sister Qingxi, please don't blame me for meddling, I'm just concerned about you. This is a very renowned gynecological expert I know, top-notch even abroad. I asked him to take a look at your previous physical examination report from Ranha Hospital. She deliberately paused, her face showing just the right amount of concern and regret. The result, sigh. The doctor said that your uterus is congenitally underdeveloped, and the endometrium is as thin as paper. I'm afraid it will be very difficult for you to have your own child in this lifetime. What? Jiyu Linyuan's expression changed abruptly as she snatched the report. I felt as if I had fallen into an icy abyss. That report, it's fake. It must be fake. My annual checkups have always been normal. No, that's not it. Linyuan, listen to me. That report, enough. Jiyu Linyuan sharply cut me off. He quickly scanned the conclusion on the report, his eyes turning cold and disappointed, even carrying a trace of barely noticeable disdain. Shen Qingxi, what else do you have to say? I looked at his icy gaze, all my explanations stuck in my throat. He wouldn't believe me. Between Lin Wani and me, he would always choose to believe her. Lin Yuan, don't blame Qingxi. Lin Wani timely played the role of the kind and understanding confidant. She didn't want this either. It's just, sigh. Grandpa Jiyu is getting old and has been looking forward to holding a great-grandchild. What should we do now? Her words were like a handful of salt, mercilessly sprinkled on Jiyu Linyuan's wound. The look he gave me had completely lost its warmth, leaving only annoyance. Can't have children. He coldly spat out 3 words, as if pronouncing my death sentence. Shen Qingxi, you don't even have this last bit of value left. At that moment, my entire body turned cold. As if even my blood had frozen, I watched the fleeting flash of triumph in Lin Wani's eyes. I saw Jiyu Linyuan's undisguised disdain. 5 years of humble devotion, 5 years of silent endurance, ultimately earned me the words, you don't even have this last bit of value left. The death of the heart truly happens in an instant. My father's heart condition worsened after that. He learned about my situation at the Jiyu family, about that malicious false report, and in a fit of rage and anxiety, he was hospitalized. I took care of him day and night, never leaving his side. Seeing his graying hair and his wrinkled face filled with worry, my heart felt as if it were being torn apart. Dad is my only family left in this world. I can't let anything happen to him. Lin Wani did not back down. She intensified her efforts. While I was exhausted from taking care of my father, she orchestrated that sensational staircase miscarriage incident. That day, she suddenly visited the Cloud Peak Villa. I had no desire to see her at all. I only wanted to stay by my father's side. Yet she blocked the doorway to my room and, in a voice only the two of us could hear, venomously said, Shen Qingxi, why hasn't your old man kicked the bucket yet, staying at Ranha Hospital, burning through money day after day, and hogging a bed? Guess what would happen if he accidentally got the wrong medication, or if the rescue was just a little too slow? Instantly, my blood boiled, and all reason was consumed by rage. Lin Wani, if you dare lay a finger on my dad, I'll fight you to the death. I pushed her uncontrollably. She let out a startled cry, like a feather floating lightly, and fell precisely toward the edge of the stairs behind her. Then tumbled down, blood spread from beneath her white skirt. Clutching her stomach, her face deathly pale, she curled up in pain, looking at the servants who rushed over at the sound and Jiyu Linyuan who charged in afterward, tears falling like broken beads. Linyuan, the baby, our baby, Sister Qingxi, she hates me, she pushed me. Jiyu Linyuan rushed over and picked her up. Seeing the blood beneath her, his eyes instantly reddening, he suddenly looked up at me, standing stiffly on the stairs. His eyes filled with unprecedented rage and hatred. Shen Qingxi, you poisonous woman. In the hospital, Lin Wani was rushed into the emergency room. Jiyu Linyuan paced back and forth in the corridor like an enraged lion. The doctor came out, his face grave as he announced, Mr. Jiyu, I'm sorry. Miss Lin has had a miscarriage. The fetus couldn't be saved. Jiyu Linyuan slammed his fist hard against the wall. He turned abruptly, rushed over to me standing frozen in the corner. And his large hand clamped down fiercely on my neck. "You poisonous woman. Are you satisfied? You killed my child. How dare you? How dare you?" His grip was extremely strong, and I instantly felt suffocated, my vision going dark. I desperately tried to pry his hand away, but it didn't budge at all. The nurses and assistants around were all terrified, and no one dared to step forward. Lin Yuan, no, I struggled to squeeze out a few words. "Shut up." He suddenly released me. As if shaking off some filthy trash, I collapsed to the ground, clutching my neck as I coughed violently, tears streaming uncontrollably down my face. "Shen Qingxi." He looked down at me from above, his gaze icy and piercing, filled with deep-seated hatred. "Get out. Don't let me see you again, otherwise I'll make sure you and your dying father are buried together. And one more thing," he added, his voice cruel, "your father's treatment at Ranhe Hospital ends here. The GU family won't spend another penny. You and your father can fend for yourselves." He turned and walked toward the emergency room, his back resolute and unyielding. I was dragged out of the hospital by the GU family's security like a dead dog, standing on the cold, windy street. The burning pain in my neck was nothing compared to the ache in my heart. On my phone, there was still a message from my father's attending doctor, "Miss Shen. Your father's condition has suddenly worsened and he urgently needs a cardiac intervention. Please pay the fees and sign as soon as possible." My world had collapsed. At that moment, I truly understood what it means to face utter destruction. Do I hate? Yes, I hate Lin Wani's viciousness. Hate Jiu Linyuan's heartlessness. Hate even more my own foolishness and weakness. I wiped away my tears, sold the small apartment my mother left me at the lowest price as quickly as possible. That was the last thing she left me. With that money, I rushed back to Ranhe Hospital, paid the fees, and signed the surgery consent form with trembling hands. The surgery took a long time. I stood in the cold corridor, motionless like a stone statue. There was only one thought in my mind. "Dad, you have to hold on. You can't leave me." The operating room lights went out. The doctor came out, took off his mask, and shook his head at me with a heavy expression. "I'm sorry, Miss Shen. We did everything we could. Mr. Shen's heart failure was too severe, and before that, there seemed to be a brief medication, a fluctuation in his condition. Please accept my condolences, my condolences." I stood there in a daze, the world losing all its sound and color. I didn't even cry. I just walked into the ward numbly, looking at my father's lifeless face. He was so thin and small, lying under the white sheets like a withered leaf. I gently held his cold hand and pressed my face against it. "Dad, your daughter is unfilial. The day my father was buried was overcast. The sky is drizzling with fine rain, like my endless tears. Only a few distant relatives and my father's old colleagues came. Not a single person from the GU family showed up. Jiu Linyuan didn't even make a phone call. Is he busy comforting his white moonlight who has lost her beloved son?" After the funeral, I returned to the empty, cold Yunding villa. The servants looked at me with sympathy and avoidance in their eyes. I knew that this was no longer a home, not even a place to stay. I locked myself in the room, refusing to eat or drink, staring at the gloomy sky outside the window. Hatred, like vines, grew wildly in the ruins of despair, entwining my heart and suffocating me. "Lin Wani, Jiu Linyuan, it was you who worked together to drive my father to his death. I will make you pay the price. Blood debts must be repaid with blood." The flames of vengeance have dried up all my tears. I began to calmly plan my next steps. The first step was to leave the GU family. I took the initiative to find Jiu Linyuan. He was sitting in the study, facing the computer, his expression still gloomy. Seeing me, he frowned, his disgust unconcealed. "What are you doing here, Jiu Linyuan?" I looked at him, my gaze calm and unruffled, like a stagnant pool of water. "Let's get a divorce." He was clearly taken aback. As if he hadn't expected me to bring it up first. Then, a flicker of complex emotion flashed in his eyes, too quick to grasp, soon replaced by his usual indifference. "Divorce?" he scoffed. "Shen Qingxi, what kind of game are you playing now? Playing hard to get? It's not a game." I took out the divorce agreement I had prepared long ago and placed it on his desk. "Sign it. I'll leave with nothing. I don't want a single penny from the GU family. I'll only take my own things." The terms of the agreement were simple. I would give up all claims to marital property and only take my personal clothes and a few private belongings. He picked up the agreement, glanced over it a few times, his frown deepening, leaving with nothing. He scrutinized me, his gaze sharp, trying to detect any trace of pretense on my face. Are you really willing? There's nothing I can't bear to part with. I forced a slight smile. The GU family's possessions are too tainted. His expression instantly darkened. Shinchingzi, sign it. I met his gaze without backing down. Once you sign, I'll move out immediately. From now on, you go your way, and I'll go mine. You and your Lin Wani can do whatever you please. He stared at me for a long time. The air grew still. Finally, he picked up the pen and signed his name on the agreement. The signature was bold and flowing, carrying his usual strength and decisiveness. Get out, he threw down the pen, his voice icy. Remember what you said. With the signed divorce agreement in hand, though the formalities were not yet completed, I felt no attachment and moved out of the Cloud Peak villa that very day, carrying only a simple suitcase. I moved into a cheap, short-term rental apartment. The environment was poor, and the soundproofing was even worse. But it's safe here. No one knows that Jiu Linyuan's ex-wife would live in such a place. Step 2. Gather evidence. I know that relying solely on my own strength, I cannot shake Lin Wani, let alone the Lin family and Jiu Linyuan behind her. I need help, I need money, I need the best lawyers. Where will the money come from? I mortgaged the last thing my mother left behind, a piece of heirloom jade jewelry. Though not top tier, it could still fetch a decent amount of startup capital. Then, I found a private investigator who operates in the grey area but has a solid reputation, codename Old K. I gave him all my savings and the money I got from the mortgage. Target, Lin Wani, investigate all her dirty secrets, especially any clues related to my father's death. Also, that fake medical report and the truth about the miscarriage. The waiting process was long and agonizing. I worked several part-time jobs to make ends meet while secretly keeping an eye on Jiu Linyuan and Lin Wani like a ghost. As expected, they got together in a high-profile manner. Jiu Linyuan took her to various high-end events, gifted her luxury houses and cars, and paved the way for her career. The media was flooded with their fairy-tale romance, reunited after a long separation, hardships finally paying off. The CEO's devoted wait, Lin Wani has become the happiest woman. Every time I see her smile, it feels like a red-hot branding iron searing my heart, reminding me of my father's cold body, reminding me of how foolish and ridiculous I once was. Old K finally brought the first crucial piece of news. Got it, Wang Bin, the attending physician at Ranhe Hospital who prescribed medication for your father and later suddenly resigned and emigrated. Before going abroad, his wife's account received a huge sum of money from an overseas offshore company. Tracing the transfer layer by layer, it ultimately points to a distant relative of Lin Wani. Additionally, the gynecologist who performed your physical exam and issued the fake report is Lin Wani's high school classmate. Her brother's job was arranged by Lin Wani through the Lin family's connections. My heart raced. Evidence. Is there direct evidence? Getting a recording is tough. The hospital's internal surveillance coverage is incomplete. Old K blew a smoke ring. But I bribed a cleaner who worked in the VIP ward area at the time. He said that on the day Miss Lin had the incident, which was the afternoon your father's condition suddenly worsened, she did indeed go to your father's hospital floor. She stayed for about 10 minutes. The timing is very suspicious. And one more thing, Old K lowered his voice. There's something fishy about Lin Wani's miscarriage. A week before the incident, she had a checkup at another private hospital. And there was no pregnancy record at all. That miscarriage report from Ranhe Hospital is fake. The doctors and nurses who treated her at the time all received benefits from the Lin family afterward. Anger and hatred surged through me once again. It really was her. She really was the one who killed my dad. And she framed me. Old K, keep digging for me. Money is no issue. I want the hardest evidence, recordings, videos, witnesses. I want her to have no way to argue. My voice trembled with excitement. All right. But it's going to be very difficult. The Lin family is covering things up tightly. Old K nodded. There's one more thing. You asked me to look into Jiu Linyuan. What about him? It seems he's also investigating. Old K's expression turned somewhat playful. Not long after your father passed away, He appears to have privately sent someone to look into the medication records and duty schedules at Ranha Hospital during that period. However, it seems someone later suppressed it, and the investigation was halted. Is Jiyu Linyuan also investigating? What is he investigating? Did he discover some suspicious points, or is it just to confirm Lin Wani's innocence? My heart felt as if it had been pricked by something, then quickly covered by an even deeper chill. So what if he did investigate? He still chose Lin Wani. For that woman, he drove my father to a dead end. His investigation was interrupted. Perhaps it was the Lin family or Lin Wani who were behind it. He is not worthy of the slightest bit of trust. Don't worry about him, I said coldly. Our target is only Lin Wani. The days of waiting are long and dark. I am like a hunter lurking in the shadows, patiently waiting for the opportunity to deliver a fatal blow to my prey. Finally, after Old K had nearly exhausted all my money and connections, he brought back something decisive. Got it. Old K's voice carried a hint of excitement and exhaustion. That Dr. Wang Bin couldn't hold out. He developed a gambling addiction abroad and was buried in debt. My people found him and offered him an irresistible price and a way out. He confessed. Lin Wani found him through a middleman and asked him to take care of your father, ensuring his condition didn't improve too quickly. Specifically, it involved tampering with the medication, delaying the use of critical drugs or slightly adjusting the dosage. That afternoon, Lin Wani personally went to the hospital to pressure him. She demanded that Wang Bin find a way to make that old man disappear quickly. Wang Bin was afraid of causing a death, so he didn't dare to go all the way, but he continued to delay the medication. As a result, that night, your father suffered a cardiac arrest, and during the rescue, the crucial thrombolytic drug was accidentally locked in another pharmacy, causing a delay in treatment. Here is Wang Bin's recorded confession and his signed written statement of guilt. There's also the audio clip he secretly recorded of the intermediary sent by Lin Wani transferring money to him and giving instructions. Additionally, Old K handed me a micro USB drive. The biggest surprise is here. On the day Lin Wani went to the hospital to threaten Wang Bin, she probably thought the VIP ward area was safe and made a phone call in the hallway, speaking quite loudly. She didn't know that in the adjacent empty high-end ward, the previous patient had secretly installed a hidden recording device for special reasons and forgot to remove it. That device had an incredibly long standby time, and by sheer coincidence, it recorded the crucial few sentences she spoke on the phone in the hallway at that time, with trembling hands. I took the USB drive and plugged it into the computer. In the earphones, Lin Wani's familiar voice, now sounding like a demon's whisper, came through clearly. Why is that old thing still alive? Have you dealt with Wang Bin or not? I don't care what method you use. Make him unable as soon as possible. That bitch Shen Qingxi, I want her to taste what true despair feels like. With her father dead, let's see what she has left to fight me with. Don't worry, I'll handle Lin Yuan. His investigation into Ranha was suppressed by my uncle. He's full of guilt now, he'll believe whatever I say. A useless old thing and a lowly substitute, how dare they compete with me? Cold, venomous words slithered into my ears like poisonous snakes. My entire body turned icy cold, my fingers digging into the edge of the table so hard that my nails nearly snapped. It was her. The evidence was undeniable. At the moment I obtained the evidence, I did not hesitate in the slightest. I found the renowned gold medal lawyer, Chen Zheng. Known for his tough tactics and fearlessness in the face of the powerful, I laid all the evidence before him, along with my blood, tears, and overwhelming hatred. After reviewing it, Chen Zheng adjusted his glasses, his gaze sharp as an eagle's behind the lenses. Miss Shen, this lawsuit will be very difficult. The opponents are the Lin family and Jiyu Linyuan. Lin Wani will not sit idly by, and Jiyu Linyuan will not stand by and watch his beloved go to prison. They will use every means to fight back, smear your reputation, and even make you disappear. I know. I looked at him, my gaze calm yet resolute. I'm not afraid. I just want justice, for my father, and for these past 5 years. Even if you might end up losing everything, your reputation in ruins. What else do I have left to lose? I retorted. Chen Zheng fell silent for a few seconds, then extended his hand. All right, I'll take this case. I'll see her behind bars. The process of filing the lawsuit was exceptionally difficult. Even the case registration encountered invisible resistance. The Lin family's influence was deeply entrenched and complex, but Chen Zheng was no pushover. He leveraged his own connections to escalate the case directly to a higher-level judicial system and contacted several highly influential media outlets, spreading the news that Madame Ji Yu has publicly accused the White Moonlight of murdering her own father. Public opinion was in an uproar. Under immense pressure, the case was finally successfully filed. What followed were months of evidence exchange, pre-trial conferences, and various legal procedures. Lin Wani, on her part, exhausted every possible means, deny all allegations, counter-accuse me of false accusation and defamation, claiming I am mentally unstable and driven insane by jealousy, bribe experts to question the authenticity of the evidence, deploy internet trolls to viciously smear me online, pinning all sorts of malicious accusations on me: infidelity, mistreatment of servants, extortion of the Jiyu family, and even claiming my father brought it upon himself. Jiyu Linyuan even leveraged the immense influence of the Jiyu family to attempt to interfere with the judiciary, exerting pressure on the court, and even sending people to follow and threaten lawyer Chen Zheng and me. During that time, I felt like a solitary ghost walking on the edge of a cliff. I kept changing where I lived. I always wore a hat and a mask whenever I went out. My phone was flooded with vicious curse messages and anonymous threatening calls. Several times, on secluded streets, unfamiliar vehicles tried to approach me. It was Chen Zheng's security personnel who helped me out of danger time and again. What kept me going was only that deep-seated hatred and the agonized face of my father before he passed away. I told myself, Shen Qingzi, you cannot fall. You must see with your own eyes Lin Wani pay the price. You must use the law to seek justice for your father. Finally, the day of the trial arrived. Based on the above facts and the chain of evidence, we believe that the actions of the defendant, Ms. Lin Wani, have seriously violated the criminal law, constituting the crimes of defamation, intentional injury, attempted, regarding the staircase incident, and involuntary manslaughter. The circumstances are extremely severe, and the social impact is extremely negative. My lawyer, Chen Zheng's voice was resounding and powerful, carrying a sense of unassailable justice that echoed through the silent courtroom. In order to uphold the dignity of the law, to console the departed soul, and to deliver long overdue justice to the victim, we implore the court to impose severe punishment on the defendant, Lin Wani, in accordance with the law, sentence her to, I object. Lin Wani's lawyer nearly jumped to his feet, his face flushed. Your Honor, the plaintiff's lawyer's accusations are entirely subjective assumptions, malicious speculation. The so-called key recording is of unknown origin, and its authenticity is highly questionable. It may very well have been obtained through illegal means. It cannot be admitted as evidence. The witness, Wang Bin, is currently abroad, and his testimony has not been cross-examined in court. Moreover, he has a serious credibility issue, gambling, making his testimony highly unreliable. As for the accusations of tampering with medical records and delaying medication, there is absolutely no direct evidence to prove that my client instructed such actions. This is clearly a premeditated, malicious false accusation and frame-up targeting my client. Objection overruled, the judge stated impassively. The authenticity and probative value of the evidence will be comprehensively reviewed and assessed by this court. Defense counsel, if you challenge the legality of the evidence, please provide corresponding counter-evidence or file a motion to exclude the illegally obtained evidence. Lin Wani's lawyer was left speechless, momentarily at a loss for words. Furthermore, Chen Zheng pressed his advantage, looking at Lin Wani, whose face was pale and who seemed on the verge of collapse. Defendant Ms. Lin Wani, you just accused my client, Ms. Shen Qingzi, of false accusation and slander in court, and mentioned that Grandpa Jiyu is getting old and has been looking forward to holding a great-grandchild. Does this contradict your earlier claim that you had a miscarriage due to my client's pushing, since Mr. Jiyu was looking forward to a great-grandchild, and you, as Mr. Jiyu Linyuan's girlfriend at the time, were pregnant? Why did the entire Jiyu family keep this matter a secret? Even after your alleged miscarriage, Mr. Jiyu Linyuan did not formally divorce my client over this matter. Doesn't this precisely indicate that your so-called pregnancy and miscarriage were problematic from the start? Lin Wani panicked, looking to her lawyer for help. Objection. The plaintiff's lawyer is asking leading questions. Lin Wani's lawyer hurriedly shouted, objection sustained. Counsel for the plaintiff, please be mindful of your questioning, the judge warned. But Chen Zheng had already achieved his goal. He had successfully torn a hole in Lin Wani's lies, planting the seeds of doubt even deeper in the minds of the judge and jury. In the gallery, skeptical gazes turned one after another toward Lin Wani. Your Honor, Chen Zheng gave a slight bow, his tone turning grave. What we wish to emphasize in conclusion is that the victim, Mr. Shen Guodong, an elderly, kind-hearted man who lived a peaceful life, should never have left this world in such a painful manner. His death has not only dealt a devastating blow to his only daughter, Ms. Shen Qingxi, but also tramples upon the sanctity of life and the dignity of the law. No matter how influential the defendant Lin Wani may be, no matter how skillfully she speaks or how persistently she evades responsibility, in the face of solid facts and the law, there is only one truth: justice may be delayed, but it will never be absent. We have concluded our statement. The courtroom fell into silence once more. The atmosphere was so tense it felt like it could drip water. The judge looked at Lin Wani. Defendant Lin Wani, do you have any final statement regarding the plaintiff's accusations and evidence? Lin Wani stood up unsteadily, tears streaming down her face, her fragile and helpless appearance enough to stir anyone's protective instincts. Your Honor, members of the jury. Her voice choked with endless grievances. I've been wronged. I really don't know anything. It's Shen Qingxi who hates me. She hates that Lin Yuan loves me. She hates that I took the position of Mrs. Gu. That's why she's been scheming to ruin me. Those pieces of evidence, they're all fake. She forged them. She bribed people. She just wants me dead. I admit, I was jealous of her, and I said some harsh things, but how could I possibly harm someone, take a life? I wouldn't even dare to step on an aunt, Uncle Shen's death. I'm also very sad about it, but it really was just an accident. It was the hospital's fault. How can it be blamed on me? And there was the miscarriage. She cried even harder, almost out of breath. My child, that was mine and Lin Yuan's child, just gone like that. Shen Qingxi pushed me. She killed my child. She's the real murderer. She should be standing in the defendant's dock. She suddenly pointed at me. Her eyes filled with venomous resentment. This performance of twisting the truth, with tears and sobs, stirred some commotion once again in the gallery. It is human nature to sympathize with the weak, especially a weakling who cries so tragically and beautifully. Gu Linyuan sat in the first row of the gallery, his hands clenched into fists, his knuckles turning white. He stared intently at Lin Wani, his gaze extremely complex. There was heartache, there was worry, but it seemed there was also a hint of imperceptible wavering and confusion, especially when Lin Wani mentioned miscarriage and child. His brows furrowed tightly. The judge banged the gavel. Defendant Lin Wani, please watch your words. The court asks you one last time. Do you admit to the charges brought by the plaintiff? I do not admit it, Lin Wani screamed, with a hysterical desperation. I have done nothing. I am innocent. The guilty one is her. She pointed at me again. The judge no longer looked at her and instead turned to my lawyer. Plaintiff, do you have any new evidence to add? Chen Zheng looked at me. I took a deep breath and nodded at him. It was time. Chen Zheng slowly took out the final piece of evidence from the file bag, a miniature recording device sealed in a transparent evidence bag, along with a transcript of the recording that had been authenticated by an authoritative institution. Your Honor, members of the jury, we submit the final piece of key evidence, the original recording medium and the forensic examination report. This recording originates from a private recording device left in an unoccupied VIP ward at Ranhe Hospital. To verify the legality of its source, we have submitted a statement from the previous patient of that ward and the purchase receipt for the device as supporting evidence. The device is a passive trigger recorder, not an intentional eavesdropping device. Its content has been examined by the National Audiovisual Materials Appraisal Center and confirmed to be unedited, unsynthesized, complete, and authentic. The recording fully captures a phone conversation that took place in the corridor of the VIP ward area at Ranhe Hospital on the afternoon of December X last year, involving the defendant, Ms. Lin Wani. Its content fully aligns with our previous allegations that she instigated and directed medical staff to delay treatment in an attempt to harm Mr. Shen Guodong. It directly reflects her subjective intent and criminal motive. Request the court's permission to play the key segment. No, that's fake. It's synthesized. Lin Wani screamed in terror, trying to rush forward to stop it. Order in the court. The bailiff immediately stepped forward to restrain her. The judge said sternly, "Permission to play the recording is granted." Chen Zheng operated the computer. The courtroom's audio system clearly transmitted Lin Wani's familiar voice, which now sounded like a demon's whisper. "Why is that old thing still alive? Have you dealt with Wang Bin or not? I don't care what you do. Make him unable as soon as possible. That bitch Shen Qingxi. I'll make her taste what true despair feels like. With her father dead, let's see what she'll use to fight me. Don't worry. I'll handle Lin Yuan." His investigation into Ranhe was suppressed by my uncle. He's full of guilt now and believes everything I say. Fmich, a useless old thing and a lowly substitute. How dare they compete with me? Cold, venomous, filled with deep-seated resentment and calculation. Every word was like a poisoned ice pick, brutally stabbing into the ears of everyone present. Dead silence, absolute dead silence. The recording has finished playing. The courtroom was eerily quiet. You could hear a pin drop. All eyes were fixed on Lin Wani. She collapsed into the defendant's seat, her face pale as a ghost, trembling all over like a sieve, her lips quivering. But no sound could escape anymore. That pitiful mask had completely shattered. All that remained was the exposed, naked ugliness and fear. "It's fake, it's all fake," she muttered to herself, her gaze vacant, already broken. From the public gallery, uncontrollable gasps and murmurs erupted. "Oh my God, that's so vicious." It really was her, she admitted it herself. To fight over a man, she caused someone's father's death. Is she even human? Mr. Gu has been kept in the dark all along. Countless gazes turned toward Gu Linyuan in the spectator seats. Gu Linyuan sat there, like a sculpture that had instantly lost all vitality. The color drained completely from his face, his handsome features taking on a terrifying pallor and ashen hue. He stared fixedly at the woman in the defendant's box who had completely broken down, his eyes filled with unbelievable horror, the fury of being utterly deceived, and a kind of instantly collapsed, world-shattering emptiness. His hands resting on his knees trembled violently, uncontrollably. In those crimson eyes, the previous rage and heartache had vanished entirely, leaving only the immense pain and confusion torn apart by the truth. He turned his head slowly, very slowly. His gaze, passing through the crowd, fell upon me. That look was indescribably complex. There was shock, guilt, pain, disbelief, and a hint of desperate pleading. I met his gaze. My eyes were calm and unruffled, as if looking at a complete stranger. I have waited too long for this moment, watching the world in his eyes crumble, watching him be stabbed in the back by the one he trusted most, watching the look of utter devastation on his face. I felt no satisfaction, only a cold, desolate emptiness. It's too late, Gu Linyuan. Everything is too late. The judge forcefully struck the gavel, suppressing the commotion in the courtroom. His expression was extremely grave, and the look he gave Lin Wani was filled with disgust. In light of the emergence of significant and crucial evidence in this case, and given the defendant Lin Wani's severe misconduct in court, this court hereby declares a recess. The collegiate bench will conduct a final review of all evidence. The verdict will be announced at the next hearing. Court is now adjourned. The gavel fell. A thrilling courtroom trial has temporarily come to an end, but everyone knows that Lin Wani's fate has already been sealed in that cold recording. The crowd began to surge. Reporters, like sharks smelling blood, frantically tried to break through the bailiff's barriers and rush toward me and the defendant's dock. "Miss Shen, how are you feeling at this moment? Miss Lin, how do you explain the content of the recording? Mr. Gu, have you been kept in the dark all along? Who will you support?" Lin Wani, shielded by the bailiffs and her lawyer, kept her head down in a disheveled state. Amidst the flashing lights and barrage of questions, she practically fled through the side door. She dared not look at anyone else. Gu Linyuan remained rigidly seated in the spectator stand, as if all his strength had been drained. His assistant anxiously whispered something in his ear, trying to pull him away, yet he remained motionless, staring intently at me. under the tight escort of Chen Zheng and the security personnel, I prepared to leave. As I passed by the spectator seats, Jiyu Linyuan suddenly stood up and rushed over. Qingzi. His voice was hoarse and broken, carrying a trembling that I had never heard before, almost humble. The security personnel immediately became alert and stopped him. He looked at me anxiously through the crowd, his bloodshot eyes filled with tears. Qingzi, I didn't know, I really didn't know. He was incoherent, overwhelmed by immense pain and regret. Wani, how could she? I'm sorry. Qingzi, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was truly wrong. He reached out his hand, as if trying to grab me. Those hands had once given me warmth, but they had also choked my neck and pushed me into the abyss. I stopped in my tracks, looking at him coldly, watching his current state of disarray, pain, and regret. This was a scene I had imagined countless times during countless desperate nights, imagining his sudden realization, imagining him kneeling before me in repentance. When this scene truly unfolded, my heart felt like a dry well, unable to stir even the slightest ripple. Only endless exhaustion and coldness remained. Jiyu Linyuan, my voice was calm, without a trace of emotion, as if stating a fact that had nothing to do with me. Your apology is worthless. Your I'm sorry cannot bring my father back to life. Your I don't know can't erase the harm you've caused me over the past 5 years, nor can it erase the sin of letting my father die without lifting a finger, all for Lin Wani's sake. Your tears, I said, watching the tears roll down his face, feeling nothing but utter irony. Save them for your Lin Wani. After all, where she's headed next, she'll probably need them. With that, I turned away. No longer looking at his instantly ashen, despairing face, surrounded by security, I resolutely left this place filled with lies, betrayal, and the stench of death. Behind me, his voice rose in a broken, low roar, like a wounded beast on the brink of death. Celadon, I didn't look back. Not even a single step. The verdict came out a month later, without the slightest suspense. Lin Wani was sentenced to 12 years in prison for the combined charges of defamation, attempted intentional injury, and negligent homicide under aggravated circumstances. The Lin family used all their connections in an attempt to appeal and reduce the sentence, but under the weight of the ironclad evidence from the recording and the overwhelming public pressure, the original verdict was ultimately upheld. Her meticulously crafted world had completely collapsed. I didn't go to hear the verdict. On the day the dust settled, I took a copy of the judgment to my father's grave. In the photo, my father's smile was still as kind as ever. I crouched down and gently stroked the cold tombstone. Dad, I whispered, my voice choked with emotion, the person who harmed you has been punished. You can rest in peace over there. Daughter, we'll live well from now on. The cold rain fell, dampening my hair and cheeks. Can't tell if it's rain or tears. After handling all the follow-up matters, I took the divorce agreement that Jiyu Linyuan had already signed and went to the Civil Affairs Bureau. I didn't notify him. I thought he probably didn't have the face to see me again. The process is very simple. The staff member looked at the agreement, then at me standing alone, seemingly recognizing who I was. There was a hint of complex sympathy in their eyes, but they didn't ask anything. The official seal was stamped. 2 dark red divorce certificates were handed to me. One for me, one belonging to Jiyu Linyuan. Looking at those 3 words on the cover, I let out a long, long sigh of relief. It felt like a heavy burden I had carried for 5 years was finally lifted. It's the mountain that's suffocating me, bending my spine, and almost taking my life. It's over. Finally, it's completely over. Walking out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the sky remained overcast, with a continuous drizzle. I stood on the steps, feeling the cool raindrops fall on my face. My phone vibrated once. It was a text message from an unfamiliar number, containing only 3 words, I'm sorry, I know who it is. No blocking, no reply, just put the phone back in my pocket, opened the umbrella, and stepped into the hazy curtain of rain. His steps were lighter than ever before. His phone vibrated again. It was a message from Chen Zheng. Miss Shen, Jiyu Linyuan is currently downstairs at the apartment you used to live in, standing in the rain for almost 3 hours. The security guard has tried to chase him away several times, but he won't leave. Should we handle this? I look at the words on the screen. Before my eyes, the image of that once lofty and arrogant man appears, standing in the rain like a stray dog, utterly disheveled. to atone for his sins, or to make amends, none of it matters anymore. I stopped walking and stood in the drizzle for a moment. Then, I calmly replied, Lawyer Chen, could you please pass on a message to him for me? The weather forecast says this rain will last for another 3 days. After sending the message, I put away my phone. I looked up at the grey sky. The rain fell in fine, silent threads, washing over the city. It also washed away all the gloom and muddiness of my past 5 years. A new life has begun.